Hello. You can't be free if all you think about is money. Um, Money doesn't matter. I know it's contradictory to everything you've been taught. When you were putting down the bottle, what did they make you pick up? A piggy bank. Count your pennies. Yeah. Then they manipulated situations so you could spend that money. And your tooth fairy, you got money every time you lost a tooth. Not much, depending on the parent, of course, but generally not much. But it's been drilled in you since you were a child, a very small, very small child. Uh, Money's important. And Christmas, Santa knows if you've been bad or good. And if you were bad, you don't get any presents for Christmas. There'll be nothing under the tree for you. Of course, Santa and everything else was a lie, but it was a brainwashing technique. It was an indoctrination technique to make you be a good boy or a good girl. You know, and if you were misbehaving, they would bring it up. you know, oh, you want that for Christmas? Well, you keep doing what you're doing now, and that's not going to happen. Stuff like that. So, so you've been in prison for a long time. I don't know how old you are now, but to reverse that, to go back and say, well, money's not important. you know, like saying Santa's not important. You know, even though he's fake. You know, but I think people have less problem saying the Easter Bunny is not important, as opposed to saying Santa's not important. Santa, you get the good gifts. Easter Bunny, you get an egg. It's like, who cares? A chocolate bar. I can buy all the chocolate bars I want. I guess Cadbury bars, you only get Cadbury eggs, you can only get them around Easter. And matzahs, you would only be able to get around Passover. Now you can get them all year round, pretty much. Uh, they're more prevalent around Passover, of course. Uh, Cadbury eggs, you can't. Cadbury eggs are only around Easter. They're pretty hard to find. I think I haven't really looked. I only look for them around Easter, so that's why I believe that's true. You could be wrong, depends on where you live. I know the price. Oh, I know the price has gone up on Cadbury eggs. They used to be a lot cheaper. Um, that's not the point of why I'm making this video. But, the point is money, and I only attack money because it's so across the board. Everybody either has money or wants money. Pretty much, it's very hard to find somebody like myself who doesn't. You know, and that's because I'm free and you're not. You know, 99.9% of the population is not free people. They're not free. They might call themselves free. They might say they're free, but they're not. You know, and like if you're gonna say that, like the universe or God or whatever you want to call it, I don't want to argue about that. But let's say the universe is the universal. But I think the universe is gonna raise Elon Musk. You know, uh, Elon Musk is a trillionaire, and you barely hear about him. It's like, you know, no big deal, and no countries follow him. Uh, our country hates him. It's just uh, he's not raised up. Yeah, he made the money the old-fashioned way. He stole it. You know, so God's God's universe is not going to lift up somebody like that. He didn't lift up Bill Gates. Bill Gates is on trial in a way for Epstein files. His whole reputation is gone. It's in the toilet. You know, and he didn't rise him up really. Yeah, he was the richest man in the world for a little while, and he had that monochrome, but he still was in a house. People didn't really care what he did, or he didn't lead nations either. He didn't. He wasn't a ruler. He ruled Microsoft. But nobody cared. He didn't. He didn't make Windows. He stole it from Apple. He stole it from Steve Jobs. So and that's like Musk. He stole it. So Tesla, he didn't create the electric car. Tesla did, and he almost stole it. So God's not raising up. I mean, yes, you think they're raised up because they have money, and like I said, money's not important. So all right, you don't like what I'm saying now, or you don't agree with what I'm saying now, but here's the curveball. Here's where you change sides. Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, they had nothing. They came from nothing. They led men. They were leaders of their countries. They became presidents. They became leaders. I don't know what Gandhi was. I don't know if he was considered a president, but he was definitely a leader of India. And of course, Nelson became president. They paid a dear price. They didn't live on easy street before they became president. They were living very horrible. Hunger strikes, prison cells made of clay, uh, shitting in a bucket every day. How many times you go? Uh, you know, it was not paradise. It was the exact opposite. Yeah, and that's who God raises, not not Elon Musk, not Bill Gates. And again, they didn't have any money. Nelson had no money. Gandhi had no money, but they had power beyond belief. I'm still talking about them years after their death. Yeah. And even Winnie Mandela, Nelson's wife, she was ostracized. She was the worst. So she was, I think, convicted of trying to kill someone, and she didn't earn her place next to Nelson. You know, she didn't go to jail like Nelson did, but she wanted to tag along and ride on his coattails, and she paid for that with um, a crushing reputation. Her reputation was horrible. People hated her, and it kind of hurt Nelson too because he was associated with her. But you can understand it though. That kind of fame and notoriety all of a sudden kind of throws a lot of people for a loop, you know, and his wife too. So, yeah, I wouldn't hold it against him. Her, on the other hand, she was not a special person. She was just, uh, some would say, lucky until she went to jail for murder. But it's just she. I think she embezzled money. I'm not sure, but she wasn't a good person, and that's why I know her. I know Winnie Mandela, not personally, but I know her name and I know her story because she wasn't a good person. Just like I know Nelson's story because he was a good person. And that's how they'll be remembered. You know, uh, time will shed that away, and they'll leave him as Nelson was a good person. His wife, not so much. I don't know if Gandhi had a wife, but uh, Gandhi will go down as a good person. Yeah. Whether you agree with his policies or whatever he did for India, I mean that's not either. Those won't survive history. What will survive is the hunger strikes and conquering the English without firing a shot. And Nelson conquered the English in South Africa without firing a shot. Um, I think Elon Musk would need a U.S.-sized army to conquer anything. He's a piece of garbage, and he's worth a piece of garbage. You know, if Nelson Mandela drew a rose, I would pay millions and millions of dollars for it. But if Elon Musk drew a rose, I wouldn't give him 2 cents. And that's the difference. You know, so like I said in my last video, if you want to be free, you got to do things different. You got to think different because you're in prison. You're in prison right now, guaranteed, no doubt in my mind. You are in prison. Your mind is a slave mentality, and that's black mentality, slave mentality, and that's how you live. But you can see my life. You can see how I live. I have no tattoos. I try to keep myself. Uh, I take showers. I take care of myself. I had a cheeseburger and mushrooms and asparagus that I made myself for dinner. Uh, you know, very good, very excellent food. Not too much. I didn't get too stuffed where I had to go to sleep because I ate too much or anything. Very comfortable. I'm on Ozempic. I'm losing weight. Uh, you know, taking care of myself. I have 3 stents in my heart. I take Plavix to keep my stents open. Uh, I just do what I'm supposed to. I try to take care of myself. There was a time there that I wasn't doing that. I stopped the Ozempic. I stopped the Plavix. I stopped everything. I stopped my Lancet, my insulin. I stopped everything. And you know, because I don't trust pharmaceuticals. I don't trust the pharmaceutical industry, and I have good reason. And I think we all do. COVID shot was a big scandal, big lot of bullshit with the COVID shot. You know, COVID itself was a big scandal. So, we'll never know the truth. We'll be dead before the truth comes out. Uh, you know, long before the truth comes out, if it ever does. And I'm sure by the time we're dead, there'll be 3 or 4 pandemics that will have gone through. They're always looking for another one now. It seems every little new disease or new strain is like, well, do we have another one? Another winner? We have a winner. They want a winner for some reason. They're really pressing. They really want it. I think because they made millions and billions on the COVID shot, and changed a lot of society with the COVID. Changed the way people go to school, go to work. Computers became a big thing. Home delivery of food became a big thing. So, working from home, of course, going to school from home, Zoom calls, got put on the map, all that stuff. Uh, I wasn't afraid of COVID. I predicted COVID. I knew COVID was going to happen in 2018. And I told people, and I went to jail for it. Uh, I was, you know, but you just, I don't know. You can't live in fear. I went to jail, but I was fine. Didn't like it. The first time I went to jail, I went during COVID. Uh, so we weren't allowed out of our cells. Um, we had to go through a 2 week quarantine period, which is usually 3 days. They expanded it to 2 weeks because of COVID. Nobody had COVID. and they're just blowing smoke up our ass, you know. But you know, so when I went to the medical dorm in the jail, I had to stay in a cell 20, 22 hours a day or something. And if you've never been in a cell, uh, that's not very easy to do. Your mind works on you, it drives you crazy. You think about crazy things. You think, what are you going to do when they open that door? You know, uh, so I survived. And when I went back for uh, 2 months, I did another 2 months, and uh, and that wasn't so bad. It wasn't during COVID or anything, but you still had to stay in yourself for a long time. But I was, it wasn't my first rodeo. I was able to do it with no problem, and I knew I was going to be there forever. And every time I went to jail, I didn't commit a crime. I was, I didn't, I still don't have a record. So, you have that too. Uh, when you speak the truth to power, I mean, power lives off lies. Look at Trump; he's a liar in chief. The Republican Party is liars in chief. You know, Democrats are liars in chief too, and that's the biggest lie: is that people think the Democrats tell the truth. They don't. Uh, when you speak truth to those kinds of people, they get rather upset. you know, but if you want God to elevate you and elevate you in a good way, like a Mandela or a Gandhi, you have to, or Buddha. Buddha was poor, and look what happened with Buddha. Uh, Dalai Lama was poor, and look what happened to the Dalai Lama. You know, I'm not saying you want to be Dalai Lama or Gandhi or uh, all those things, but you don't want to be a Musk. You don't want to be a Putin. You don't want to be a Trump. You don't want to be a Bill Gates. Uh, you want to be somebody good. And all those other people are evil to the core. Um, that's why they live horrible lives. Gandhi could walk anywhere in India and he was safe. Mandela was safe anywhere. He didn't have to worry. They didn't have to look behind their back. Nobody was going to shoot them. But those other people that I mentioned, Putin, Trump, Gates, Elon, they got bodyguards because everybody wants to take them out. So if you want that, then go rob and steal your way to the top because that's what you'll get. You know? But if you want, look, Gandhi and Mandela, like I said, they didn't have an easy road. Mandela went to jail for 20 years, over 20 years, in a South African prison. You know, as probably the most hated prisoner of the prison. You know, it's just, and that's why when I say a lot of you that want to be free, you're not willing to do what I want and need you to do to be free. Freedom comes at a cost. You know, uh, if someone says to you, "Who's your Lord and Savior?" and you don't say it's Jesus, which is me, they're gonna kill you. They, you say it, they threaten that they're gonna kill you, and they might. They very well might, but you have to say it, whether they do or not. You know? And you will be saved if you say it. But I don't want to be the one. I don't want to. You don't want to be the one that doesn't say it. All I can say is that you don't want to be that man or woman because you'll wish for death if you don't say it. You know. So, and I think it's all a ruse. I don't think they'll actually kill you because God protects you and He won't let them kill you. The blade will break, the gun will jam, something will happen. They won't kill you. You know, you have to do extraordinary things. Walk away from money. Walk away from all the trappings. You know. Look, I eat good. I eat filet mignon. Not every night, of course, but I buy filet mignon. I buy ribeye, with fresh asparagus, organic asparagus. Uh, I don't live poor. I'm not telling you to live poor. It's what's in your heart, not what's in your stomach. You know? If you want caviar, eat caviar. But don't steal for it. Don't lie about it to get it. Don't buy black market caviar. Be on the up and up. You can't be robbing from the church and say you're a man of God. It doesn't work. You can't be raping children and calling yourself a man of God. You know, and like those men of God, who call themselves men of God, when they were found out, God didn't raise them up. He made them famous, but they were lepers in society. They were demolished. You know, so you, know, you want to be pure. You want to be good and hard. I've done crack. I've done some crazy things, but I was always pure in my heart. You know, never killed anybody. I've tried, but for good reasons. Self-defense is not murder, and that's the reason self-defense exists. Anything I might have done was self-defense. So, it's just, what do you want to do? You want to live in prison in your mind? Or you want to be free? You know, don't you use Gandhi and Mandela as the mountaintop, but realize you might never reach that mountaintop. But climbing a mountain like that is really hard, really hard. You know, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Putin, all them, they took a helicopter to the top. They took a helicopter ride to get to the top, and they paid for it. They're they're not gonna have. They don't have good fame. They're not loved. You know, and it's not gonna work for them. They're not gonna be happy. They're gonna wish they didn't take that helicopter. You know, so that's why you gotta look at the past. Past the Bible. I mean, I don't quote the Bible. I don't like the Bible, but a lot of the Bible is about the past and stories of people and what they did and how they overcame. Cain and Abel, and David, all those stories. Moses. Well, how they overcame, and none of them was handed a emerald mine and kicked out the Pharaoh of Egypt with it. It doesn't happen that way. It doesn't happen that way. Never has and never will. And if you want that, go for it. I don't think you do. I really don't.